On the night of April 14, 2014, tragedy struck at the Government Girls Secondary School Chibok, where 276 girls were abducted by the notorious Boko Haram terrorist group. Some to be seen days after, some to be seen years after, and some still missing even as at the time of this report in April 2024.
In Nigeria, 1 in 3 children is out of school, totaling 10.2 million at the primary level and 8.1 million at the junior secondary school level. Additionally, 12.4 million children have never even attended school, and 5.9 million left school early. A significant portion of out-of-school children, nearly 6.3 million, 60%, reside in northern Nigeria. 60% of out-of-school children are girls from northern Nigeria.
Perturbed by the declining rate in education due to increased insecurity, Lagos Talks decided to seek more answers. To gain more insight on this, we had a chat with the former head of the Chibok community on the incident that had now become the focal point of lack of safety for our children in Nigeria.
Chibok life is before the adoption. Chibok is one of the most interesting places that you would like to visit in Borno State. One, we are very peaceful people.
I want you to give us your account of exactly what happened on that day, on the 14th of April.
1 a.m. or 2 p.m. of the following day, that was the 15th of April 2014, I got call. Not only one, not only two. At that time, I was the vice chairman of our community here in Abuja. So when I wake up around, was it 4 a.m., I just saw so many calls. And so I tried to get in touch with some of these calls, and all the response was that Chibok was attacked. At that time, nobody could even tell me whether those girls were taken away. But what happened was burning of some critical houses in Chibok and some critical places, some shops. That was really that was communicated to me at that point around the time around 4 a.m. So it was long after, that was after daybreak, and people start to find out what really happened and trying to, get record of those areas that have been, burnt down and that. So in the process, it was discovered that our girls were taken away. Me, personally, I couldn't even, agree at that time. But when they mentioned about 2 of my nieces, the daughter of my junior brother, the immediate one that I left breast for, and the daughter of my senior brother, the immediate one that left breast for me. So I now know that, okay, if that is the... So we started to approach the high authority using our association platform, that is Chibok Area Development Association here in Abuja.
So you're saying that it took 3 days?
Yeah.
So after 3 days, after you then did the press conference,
yes,
that was when you started...
Well, the government now agree that actually adoption took place.
So all these years, I know that you've asked questions, I know that you've tried to carry out some investigation. Have you been able to maybe get some answers as to why the government was not responsive, even within the first few hours of when this happened?
Anything you talk in this country, people will take it to be political.
As we assess the government's response to these issues, one cannot help but question the role of the military in all this.
Shocking reports were made by Amnesty International alleging that the Nigerian military had prior notice to this attack. Although the military deny this, the lack of immediate response to this attack raised questions about the military's body language towards such a tragedy.
Let me take you back to 2014, and that is exactly how Boko Haram succeeded in carrying out the Chibok girls' abduction. There was warning, but the military and the government ignored it. And similar or exactly the same thing happened in 2018 in Dapchi. I was in Dapchi a month or weeks after the abduction in 2018. We have spoken with the parents, we have spoken with traditional rulers, we have spoken with security agencies, and we have spoken with villages that are close to Dapchi. Villages surrounding Dapchi, we have spoken with them. Even the village through which Boko Haram came into Dapchi, we have spoken with people there, and they told us that when Boko Haram camped like 5 or 20 kilometers from Dapchi, the military were informed, the security agencies were informed, and nothing was done.
To address these pertinent questions, we spoke with the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba.
Now, there are reports stating that the military swooped into action 4 days after the girls were taken. So I want to hear from you. Why did it take the military so long to go after the perpetrators of this unfortunate incident?
The Chibok girls incident was a defining time in our security, in the security landscape of this country at the time. And the incident redefined our determination and approach in countering insurgency and terrorism in the country. At the time, being the regular military force that we are, we were trained to combat a fellow regular force, organized just as we are. And then being confronted with non-state actors such as the terrorists at the time, there's no doubt that we were grappling with what is the best way to combat that threat, as it was an imagined threat at the time.
Was Boko Haram's attack primarily driven by a disdain for Western education, or were political and religious factors more significant?
The adoption was quite political. So at that time, the federal level seemed to be in opposition with the state level, because state level was ANPP at that time, and the federal level was PDP. So there was no cohesion between them. That was actually what actually transpired. Well, federal government is accusing the state government of orchestrating the adoption. State government was accusing federal government of they should focus their attention on rescuing the girl. It's unfortunate that we were at the receiving end between the two giants, that's the federal government and the state government. So instead of that have sympathy for us as minority, the most minority tribe in Borno State, for them to act fast and bring our daughter, they were playing politics among them, between themselves.
Every terrorist group has a political agenda. Boko Haram at the time kidnapped these young girls in order to further their political agenda. And they were able to some way achieve the kind of attention that they needed, because the whole world got to know about the girls and they got to know about Chibok. For us in the military, the situation as of today is that the terrorists of Boko Haram or ISWAP are a declining threat in the northeast.
As the story unfolds, more allegations surface, suggesting inadequate military deployment in already vulnerable and frequently targeted areas. The military, however, offers a different perspective.
The military, maybe based on intelligence, understands that this could be a particular target. You are expected to deploy more. But it seemed like, especially in the northeast, there were incessant attacks. So how did the military respond to those attacks, especially when it was happening on a consistent basis?
Well, we have boots on the ground. And to get boots on the ground, you carry out a lot of analysis, and those locations that are more pressed, we now come up with a strategy to have troops deployed in those locations in order to protect the citizens, that are there. It's the same situation we have around the country today. We have theaters all across Nigeria, all across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. We deploy troops there in order to address specific issues that we find challenging at those locations.
In the shadows of the Northeast, countless atrocities have been occurring, largely unreported.
You cannot be surprised when, even in Kaduna State, some gunmen will just go and ramp up all the schools, secondary school and primary school, and their teachers, and took them to the bush and go away. And I'm telling you that the number of abductions that happen are far higher than what we know. It is only the high-profile ones that we know.
According to Amnesty International, reports indicate that insurgency has continued and transformed into more sinister actions. Boko Haram now enters villages, outrightly demanding village chiefs and fathers to bring their daughters to them.
In the north now, we reach a situation whereby bandits will call a village chief and say that we heard that you have young girls, 5 or 6 in the house of so. So we want you to bring them to so place. And the parents will take them on motorcycle and drop them with the bandits. And the bandits will tell them, okay, after 1 week, go and come and pick your daughter. Yes.
That is so unfortunate.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the reason why they willingly give up their children?
Because they will be killed, and no one is there to protect them. Yes, if you don't do it, they will kill you. There was even an incident in Zamfara State. I was told he's about to be married, and one of the bandits heard about the fact that she's going to be married next week. So he asked the village head to bring her to him. She stayed with him for 1 week before the marriage. And in most cases, it is the father that will be asked to bring his daughter. So this is what is going on. Apart from raping, coming to a village to rape women and kill them afterward.
More alarming reports reveal that this menace has evolved beyond targeting children, especially girls, and education. It is now extended to impacting food security, with Boko Haram taxing residents for accessing farmlands.
Like in Katsina State, during the last rainy season that ended, we started recording cases of people that go to the farm, and the bandits will say, if you go to your farm, you have to pay 100,000 for you to cultivate. Yes, for you to cultivate. If you don't pay, you will face the consequence. You either kill or harm you in so many ways. So the next thing they started doing, when they realized that, well, killing people is not enough, what they will do is that when they catch the person, they will amputate him in the left hand. When they catch him in the farm again, they will amputate the right hand. We already have like 20 people whose hands have gone this way.
Over the years, huge sums have been allocated for the sole purpose of boosting security here in Nigeria. A close reference point was 2023, where a supplementary budget was presented. Within that supplementary budget, 575.6 billion naira was sequestered for boosting security. And also within that budget, 184.2 billion naira was sequestered for the sole purpose of buying arms and ammunitions. However, fast forward to a few months after, March 2024, 137 students were abducted from LEA School, Kuriga in Kaduna. And one wonders, how was that possible in light of the amounts that have been pumped into fighting terrorism? And in spite of some of these military artilleries that has been used, like the drones and all that, just in March, we did see, unfortunately, what happened in Kaduna. the LEA school where children were kidnapped again. And so the citizens wonder, if there are all these weapons from the arsenal of the military, why then do we see not only these attacks, but at the magnitude in which it happens?
You see, the situation with the LEA in Kaduna that you mentioned, otherwise called the Kuriga school children. I would want us to remember the Kuriga school children, that we recovered every single one of them, 137 of them. And that came by a combination of actions, including military action. And by today, I'm sure you know some of the terrorist leaders that were taken out in the process. But back to how did this happen? It happened because there was a breach in the protocol that was in place. And what was that breach? They have said, if there's going to be any activity of such, you notify us. You notify us is for a reason, so that we can bring our presence there, both aerially, physically, to make sure that this doesn't take place. Now, that was the first mistake. The second one was, when the incident happened, the military was not notified until several hours after. Now, that several hours after is a setback for us in our search and rescue operation, you know. But at the end of the day, we got every single one of them back.
Because we know the importance and the role that funding plays when it comes to fighting insecurity, and that's a given. However, with this, the Safe School Initiative, we know that there was a Safe School Initiative Fund, as well as the Multi-Donor Trust Fund, which also included the UN and some other international, educational advocates. And we know that there have been millions over the years pumped into these different funds. So how come those funds haven't been able to sort of make the schools completely safe, where we know that our children, especially in the Northeast, are going without the fear of thinking that they're going to be attacked?
The issue of safety and security has nothing to do with whether funds are so available. Even when funds are available, let us assume that probably several billions of naira were released today. You don't just go to the street today and start recruiting people. Just start recruiting people, train them for security, and start buying equipment and all that. They take time. It is procedural. I'm not really aware of all those international funding that you are talking about, but I know that federal government has committed money to safe school projects, involving all security agencies and all stakeholders, and everybody is doing its bit. For instance, part of the fund was also used. We established a center here, this national center. Probably before you leave this place, you will visit the command and control room that have been put up. That command and control room, you have platforms where cases can be reported. So if you suspect anything, you just report to the command and control room, where information will be disseminated to the appropriate security agency that is very, very close to that place.
To speak about the money allocated to security, what I will say is, how many of those things are produced in Nigeria? How many are produced in Nigeria? And what that means is, for every naira you get, you have to convert it to dollar to go and buy. So when you have billions of naira, first convert it to dollar, then you will know what you have to go and buy. That's number one. Number two, go check what is the defense budget for a country like America. This is a country that they produce those things, and then take a comparison with ours that we don't produce. Then the next point is, even if you have your money and you go that you want to buy, I tell you for free that they are not off the shelf things that you can get. They will tell you, they will give you in 3 years, 4 years, or whatever. as the case may be. And lastly, I will say, security is costly business. Insecurity is even more costly.
Combating insurgency requires a unified front. The question remains, to what extent?
Don't forget that we're actually living in a low-trust society. And when you are living in a low-trust society, nobody will trust anybody. Nobody trusts anybody. Do you think members of the public also trust journalists? They don't. If you write what is favorable to government, they say you have been sponsored. Now we have been moving from one community to another to sensitize them. This is what you need to look for. Yes, we have been sloganeering. If you see something, say something. But we have also discovered that people have been saying, they have been saying something, they have not been saying something. Some people are even saying now that if you say something, you will see something. It is part of this low trust thing. A community, 20, 30, 40 people on bike, on motorcycle, vehicles will enter a community and nobody will say anything.
While we recognize the crucial role of citizens in combating terrorism, can we blame them for remaining silent out of fear for their lives when questioned about crimes that they witness? The deep-rooted mistrust between society and law enforcement, especially considering past accusations, cannot be overlooked.
He mentioned something, saying that one of the major issues that they experience, especially in the Northeast area, is the mistrust that people do not have for security operatives, and maybe security operatives do not have for the people. That they also coined a slogan called "See something, say something." And he said that there are times where issues might arise and you ask the people of the community and they act like they don't know, we don't see. I want you to speak on that.
Why they have to be silent? I'm speaking here, maybe I'm privileged to be in Abuja. But possibly if I'm at home, I cannot talk. Because the government, the state government, let me just say when I say government, whether state, federal, I don't know. But the government along with the spirit, because the spirit are part of government. They can even threaten you. Can you imagine even during election? Our citizens will be threatened to vote particular party. Otherwise, they say they will be at risk, security risk. So people cannot talk. Because if they talk, you don't know what will happen to you either in the night or thereafter.
Why are people so afraid? Do they feel genuinely threatened by the military's presence?
Just a few days ago, I had a conversation with the Safe School Initiative response team. He had mentioned, see something, say something. And he did mention that even some of the community members don't say something even when they see something. I also had a conversation with the past head of the Chibok community, and I threw that question to him as well. And he had mentioned that, of course, the community members will not say something because they fear for their lives as well. Just making reference to an unfortunate incident that happened in Plateau last year, where some Christians were killed or massacred, and the head of PAN in that area made some accusations, so to speak, alleging that the military is complicit in the killing, that the military was also a threat in that area. And so the reason why I have decided to just set all these things out is to sort of like marry the perception. We cannot ignore that there may be a perception based on the things that have happened in the past where there are people who do fear for their lives, not necessarily because of Boko Haram, but military presence in that area.
Okay, we are in a state of war. We are in a state of war. We are in a state of war. And when you're in war, ugly things do happen in war. In this situation that we find ourselves, I said it earlier and I'll repeat it, the military working with other stakeholders in collaboration are using the arm, which I will tag as the whole of government approach, collaborating with the whole of society approach. And the whole of society approach means what? It means the civil populace, it means the civil society organizations. Now, joining hands with the whole of government, what that comes down to is the whole of nation approach in fighting terrorism and insurgency, in fighting the war, in other words. And I said that it involves the deployment of more troops, it involves intelligence gathering, it involves working with the locals, and involves the international partners. And that way, we are able to make good progress in protecting citizens of this country and in winning the war. Talking about certain information flying around the place, I tell you that in war, deception, misinformation, fake news are all part of what you find in a war environment. Therefore, there is need to be circumspect of information that you come across. And that's why we encourage people to get in touch with us and then hear what we have to say. In today's military, we hide nothing. Whatever the situation is, we come out there to tell the public, to tell the people that this is what's happening. You know, and the reason is simple. We want to be able to say it's white and let it be white. But if you fall for the trap of the adversary, then you find yourself singing a different song from what the government is saying or for what the military is saying, you know. So I would just say there is need for people to be circumspect of the kind of information that is being churned out, particularly by the adversaries.
As we delve deeper, we ponder, are we truly making progress despite the military and government's efforts to combat terrorism and to protect our children?
Wow, there's a great difference. That's a great difference. I mentioned to you that the situation in the Northeast is the Boko Haram is a declining threat in the Northeast. And from the figures, from the results, from the number of locations across the country that we've been able to free from the presence of Boko Haram, those are indicators. If you go to the Northeast today, there are over 160,000 terrorists that have surrendered with their families. And this 160,000, I'm talking of combatants. I'm not mentioning their families here now. That have surrendered. You know, so that is something. That counts for something. You know. So we're making good progress. At the beginning, yes, we grappled with it. But today, we are masters of the game.
It feels as though every passing day brings news of kidnappings, village attacks, and killings.
Apart from education in that school, what is life like in Chibok at the moment?
The life in Chibok is still terrible in time of spirit. About 10 days back, a village, specifically Kwapel, was attacked by insurgents because all of them are terrorists. We don't know what type of terrorists they are talking because government always tell us bandits, headsmen, this and that, Boko Haram. But as far as Chibok is concerned, any attack to us is from Boko Haram. To us, is from Boko Haram. Because we don't have headsmen around our area. Even if they are there, they are limited. So, a village was attacked. That village is not up to 10 kilometers away from Chibok local government headquarters. Some people we lost life. Properties were burnt, and cattle were roasted. And to date, no response from government. So there is no week or at least a month that will pass without a community in Chibok being attacked and with colossal loss of life. as I'm talking to assist the adoption. That's why it is not surprising that you people get my number to call me. We have been crying on behalf of our people for appealing to government. Let them protect the lives of our people at home.
When things happen, particularly when it has to do with security, whatever happens that is negative is always so popular. So when these kidnaps happen, well, definitely it will be so popular because children are involved, lives are involved. But for every one that happened, I can tell you that there are some hundreds that were thwarted, that were prevented. So many of these things are happening. But we cannot also be, announcing those things that we have been able to stop. Because the more you do it, the more you are just creating panicky situation in the minds of the people that so school today, we stop this. Even when parents hear that, parents hear that you stopped an attack on a school today, and their children will also go to that school tomorrow, despite the fact that you are giving assurances that you have been able to stop them. So you have to just keep on doing what you are doing to save the schools and to just make sure that everybody is at peace, because the fear of insecurity is worse than insecurity itself.
Considering the devastating statistics of violence caused by Boko Haram, should the Nigerian government consider granting amnesty to terrorists? Can deeply entrenched extremist ideologies ever truly be changed? Given the complexities of radicalization and the deeply ingrained beliefs and motivations of terrorists.
Instead of government to punish somebody for the crime the person committed, government now is, rewarding the crime, the person that had committed the crime, using our daughters. That's exactly what is happening. How can government that have sense can use the resources that I myself and my parents, my brothers, this resource belong to me, to coerce even my daughters and any other person to deny the parents their children? You can imagine this. And that is what exactly is happening. None of our daughters have been married to anybody. All we know is that they are being molested on daily basis. The people molesting them as molesters. Government has seen it to be their so-called whatever name they were, because I cannot call. And that is what is now giving us more trauma presently.
We are saying that, okay, Boko Haram is now over, but it's over, but not over. Because the government has not even started anything about transitional justice. They are setting up rehabilitation. They are saying we are giving Boko Haram amnesty, which is complete nonsense, completely untenable, completely unuseful, because you have to address injustices.
The response from the citizens as well is not one that is embracing of amnesty to terrorists, especially people that have wreaked such havoc. There are thousands of displaced people due to the havoc wreaked by terrorism. There are people who have not been able to see their family, and they probably may not even be able to feed. And so the idea of using a budget towards amnesty for such people who have wreaked such havoc.
Well, we have an operation called Operation Safe Corridor. And Operation Safe Corridor more or less is for those terrorists that have denounced terrorism, and therefore they are put through a program to make sure that by the time they come out of that program, they are fit for society once again. Well, there will be mixed opinions about this. What do? They are Nigerians. Yes, they killed people, sadly so. But we just have to find a way. Like I said, we have over 160,000 of them now in Borno State. Yes, I feel the I feel the plight of the victims who lost loved ones in the hands of these people who have surrendered. But yeah, it's an arguable situation. It's a situation whereby, what do? You line all everybody up and shoot them. What do? You know, they are Nigerians. You know. So, yeah, it's the situation. It is what it is.
Granting amnesty to terrorists raises significant questions about justice and accountability, potentially undermining efforts to address the consequences of their actions. In Nigeria, is justice about maintaining peace by satisfying the demands of perpetrators, even if it means neglecting the needs of the victims and their families?
If you don't address injustices, you are building up for Boko Haram 2.0, definitely. Because those people whose husbands were killed, those children whose parents, fathers and mothers were killed, they will never forget about it. And there is no amount of rehabilitation that will make them forget about that injustice. The only way that will help them to a little bit, forget about it or even move on from it, is when they see those who committed those atrocities against their parents are brought to justice. If you know that the person if a person knows that, okay, this man killed my father and this man is now in jail, he will move on, definitely. The pain will be there, but he will move on. And that will solve a lot of problems. They have committed international crimes. They have violated international humanitarian laws. They have violated international human rights laws. They have violated so many human rights protocols set up by the African countries. They have violated ECOWAS rules about human and people's rights.
Does the absence of justice drive people to defend themselves by resorting to violence?
Without justice, just forget about it. You can never have a country. You can never have peace. You cannot never have prosperity. So we have to address injustice. We have to make sure that people who are victims of injustice, they get justice. 80% of Nigerians are facing one form of social injustice or the other. So we have to prioritize giving people justice, making sure that there is consequences for bad behavior, making sure that there is consequences for violating human rights. That is the only way people will be happy. If I know that the government cannot protect my rights, I will take gun and help myself. And that is why if you look at countries like the United States of America, their first amendment, their second amendment, their third amendment, they believe that in the US, you hear about school shootings. And the founders of America said that, look, people have to be able to defend themselves.
When you are talking about security, it is for everybody. And let me also say that research has shown that the best form of security is the one you provide for yourself. It's not as if we are asking citizens to start carrying gun and all that, but it's be able to also know when to be vigilant and when to provide and make available information as at, when necessary. So when you have timely information, intervention will be very, very easy.
If the government dissuades parents from paying ransom, how do the parents ensure the safe return of their children?
We know that on several occasions, the government has come out to dissuade even parents from paying ransom. Because it creates a conundrum and a confusion in the system where people are wondering, okay, so if we don't pay this ransom, are we confident enough that the authorities will secure the release of our children?
Yeah, experience has shown that when you are also telling some categories of people not to pay ransom, they may even fight you that are you stupid? What are you looking at before they were kidnapped? You are not telling us we shouldn't pay. If you have done your job very well, would they have been kidnapped in the first instance? It is because we are living in a low trust society. We don't trust each other. Citizens don't believe what government is doing.
So would you say to the parents not to pay ransom if they are being contacted by some of these kidnappers?
Of course, there is no need to pay ransom because we have paid enough ransom in this country and we have encouraged the doers of this evil to continue. I will not encourage anybody to pay for ransom, but I will also say that security agencies like we have to also step up our effort to ensure that It does not happen again.
Ever wondered what happens to children when they escape Boko Haram's captivity?
Wallahi, tears was coming out of my eyes because of this development. You can imagine somebody who stay in the hands of these people for almost 10 years or 7 or 8 years. He was able to manage to come out. As I'm talking to you, the Borno State government kept them, that they should not be handed over to their parents. That some of those that are handed over to their parents, they say they have a lot of what they're telling us that is giving us more pain than even the adoption.
What is the reason that they have given for some of those kids to not be reconciled with their parents?
Well, you can only get that answer from Borno State. I will give you one scenario. When my one of these my niece was released, and the government was asked the parent to come and identify them. My junior brother and his wife slept in my house here in Abuja. I took them in my car together with the chairman, my former chairman of Kada Abuja branch, and one set of other parents. When we went to the former Minister of Women Affairs, who were the one whose office handling the rehabilitation process, do you know that the minister, after citing me, the minister told me in the presence of all the parents, you will not see this girl, you will not see these girls, you will not see this girl. I was denied to see my niece. You can imagine this kind of devastation. There is no trauma. In fact, we thank God, Almighty God. Otherwise, any Chibok man moving, you will say the person will break down because of the trauma from government and from terrorists.
Here's an excerpt from a report by Amnesty International. After escaping Boko Haram, they face further violations by the Nigerian authorities. At best, they end up displaced, struggling for survival, and with primary school often inaccessible. At worst, they are arbitrarily detained by the military for years, in conditions amounting to torture or other ill treatment. Many have died in custody.
But just taking a look at the aftermath of some of these disastrous events that have happened, the rehabilitation of the people. I know that Amnesty International released a report, especially about the treatments, unfortunately the inhumane treatments that some of these victims who escape Boko Haram experience in the hands of the military.
Well, in 2018, we released a report speaking to those things that you said. The women experienced rape mostly.
The plight of the boy child is equally concerning, as they are often stigmatized as terrorists rather than recognized as victims.
When Boko Haram was chased out of a lot of communities in Borno State, the military went into those communities. So in most cases, what happened was that the military, when they go in, they always suspect that young boys are Boko Haram. That is their own general suspicion, whether they are related to Boko Haram or not, and especially men, and especially young people. And that's why when you know that area, people, if you have a son that is up to 14, 15, 16, you send him away. They send them far away from the community because they know that if Boko Haram come, they will conscript him. If the military come, they will kill him because they will say that you are a Boko Haram just because you are a young man. So that was what happened. So when those communities were taken over by the military, many arrests were made. And most of the young men, they were labeled Boko Haram because they have lived in areas that were previously controlled by Boko Haram. That's the only thing. I'm not saying that some of them may not have sympathy or some of them may not even be Boko Haram, but the majority have nothing to do with Boko Haram. So when they were taken, they were taken to rehabilitation. And when they were taken to rehabilitation, before they were taken to those rehabilitation, they go through very horrifying treatment. Some of them were raped, some of them were beaten, And some of them were even forced to confess that they are Boko Haram. Well, they are not. So they take them to rehabilitation center and they parade them as former Boko Haram fighters. So they are already stigmatized. Somebody put you on television and say he is a former Boko Haram. So there is no way you can escape from that label. And that label becomes a burden, psychological burden on them for the rest of their lives. So when they take them to a center in Gombe State where they say they do the radicalization and rehabilitation. At the end, or during the radicalization and rehabilitation, one component is teaching them how to acquire skills. At the end of the day, before they leave that center and go back into the society where they came from, they are promised that, okay, we are going to give you, if you are a carpenter, you train as a carpenter, we are going to give you carpentry kits. If you are a welder, we are going to give you welding equipment so that you can set up a job and you move on with your life. So at the end of the day, the government will parade them on television and newspapers and say these are former Boko Haram fighters. So at the end of the day, corruption mostly come in and they end up without getting those things. So they are going back with two grievances. Number one, they have not been given what was promised. Number two, they know deep in their mind that they are not Boko Haram. But when they go back, they came wearing white and a green cap. And they say these are former Boko Haram fighters. And when they go to seek the hands of a girl in marriage, and the parents say, no, you are a former Boko Haram, we don't like it.
So the stigma as well.
When they go to look for a job, they will tell them, no, we don't want you, are a former Boko Haram fighter. Actually, these people, if there was a thorough investigation, they have nothing to do with Boko Haram. So the layers of injustice in our society are just too much.
More shocking revelations emerge as the dialogue with Amnesty International unfolds. Allegations of the military giving victims food in exchange for sex.
When they were kept in rehabilitation centers or transit camps, there were points at which the people that are guarding them, that is the soldiers and the civilian JTF, they use food in exchange for sex. They will ask a woman to follow them, to sleep with them. If not, no food for her and her children. And many of them have to follow them. We have interviewed many, so that was what that report is saying.
These narratives are deeply concerning. As we examine the findings of Amnesty International, it's important to note that the military also has its own perspective on the validity of the sources where such information is gotten.
What will the military gain? That's a good question. What will the military gain if we rescued a hostage, bring the hostage to us and torture the hostage and abuse the hostage? What are we going to gain doing that? I spoke about being circumspect of misinformation, disinformation, fake news, deception. We must never lose sight of those things. We must never lose sight of those things. What are we going to gain to do that? I tell you for free, when you fight the kind of war we're fighting right now, counterinsurgency war, it's a war about the populace. We're trying to win the populace. The adversary is trying to win the populace. So doing those things, as you mentioned, will it help us, or will it help us in winning, or will it help us to lose? So we're very aware of what a counterinsurgency war is all about, and therefore can never find ourselves doing any such thing. If you go to the Northeast today, we've carried out a lot of civic projects. Places where there's no water, the military has been able to install boreholes there. We've built schools, we've built roads. There's just so much we've done. And this is to let the population know that the military is your friend. We're your friend. We represent the government, and we are bringing governance to those locations and kicking out the bad guys who are the terrorists. So once again, I'll say there is need to be circumspect of fake news, misinformation, disinformation, or whatever color of information that is being put out there, particularly when it's coming from sources that have a comma.
It raises a crucial question. What is the standard operating procedure for the military? Should the children who are victims be treated as suspects?
One thing that may also bring some form of confidence amongst the citizenry is knowing what the standard operating procedure is for the military when a victim happens to escape or the military rescues a victim. What's the process, when these people are found?
Now, this is what happens. We carry out military operations into enclaves, hideouts, strongholds of this terrorist. In the process, disseminate many of their leaders, their foot soldiers, their commanders in the process. And in the process, we rescue a lot of hostages. This we do day in, day out. If you follow my reports, you will see. When we do that, and in the case of this Chibok girls, when we do that, we hand them over to the Borno State government. We don't keep them. We hand them over to the Borno State government. The Borno State government do the needful and take them either to their parents or put them through some psycho whatever training because of what they passed through, So when we rescue, we hand over to the appropriate authority. It has to be the police, it has to be the chieftain of the locality. That's what we do. We don't keep them.
The discrepancy in the exact number of missing girls is worrisome.
We here at Bring Back Our Girls, we're standing in the gap for them because they are not able to be here. The Emerging Mohammed Foundation did a study, and from what they were able to observe, 91 girls are still unaccounted for. Now, we do know that some of those girls had perished during the course of their captivity or in the course of the abduction, but we say that 91 have to be still have to be accounted for.
Ever since we were able to identify that it was 276 girls that were taken on the 14th of April 2014, till now, we can't actually get a figure of how many have finally come home, how many have been rescued, and how many are still in the house.
I think at first 276 were taken in trucks by Boko Haram. But there are some courageous girls that sacrificed their life, and about 57 of them escaped in the couple of 2-3 days of their day. They didn't reach Sambisa. Some even escaped in Sambisa, near Sambisa, but they have not gone to their place of their custody. Now, 57 escaped, remaining 219. Among the 219, Amina Keki was the first girl that was released. Then, subsequently, 21, among whom I told you my niece was one, was negotiated, or whatever the government did about it, we don't know, but were released, 21. Then, subsequently, about either 6 or 7 months thereafter, another set of 82 were released. So when you total all this 1, 21, 82, so this number I can authoritatively tell you the situation. But the subsequent one, as I told you, government have been shielding us, the leaders of Chibok community, not to know about whatever.
One pertinent question we must ask: how do we ensure the safe return of the rest of the Chibok girls that are yet to be found?
That they need to be brought back in every way that they can be brought back, not just physically. They need to be brought back emotionally. They need to be brought back socially, culturally, economically, educationally, every way that they could be restored to the path in life that they would have taken if they had not been abducted. They need to be brought back.
Especially for the girls that are still yet to be returned to their families. What's the plan moving forward? It's 10 years on the 14th of April, and these parents are still very much in mourning. So what is the plan for the rest of the girls?
The military is working together with stakeholders, working together with local authorities, and we remain determined and we remain vigilant, and we don't give up on any opportunity to get any of those girls who are still out there back to their loved ones. For every girl that we are able to bring back is a testament to our dedication. It's a testament to our strong desire to make sure that each and every one of them comes back home to their loved ones. We're still out there. We're still looking for them, and we will get them and bring them back home.
What would you say is expected moving forward?
We are appealing to Borno State government. As I said, we are not praying for any bad thing to do, but let him put himself in our position, the position of the parents of this rescue girl that stayed with Boko Haram for almost 10 years now, and they came out, and that somebody is holding, if he were the parent of those governors, that somebody, which is even your government, promoting union between this your daughter and the criminal that devastated their life. Let him put his position in that, and then feel that it is not proper. It is punishment that is supposed to be apportioned, rather than appeasing them using our daughters. If it were his daughter, would he be happy for that? This is one. Two, this girl, as I told you earlier, we wrote 4 letters to federal government when they were released, those ones that are schooling in Yola. We wrote federal letter to federal government that they should not allow this our daughter, when they were in rehabilitation here in Abuja, they let these our daughters go and study abroad, because we have gotten assistance from international community. Through Gordon Brown, he spoke with our leaders, Chibok leaders, and assured that if government release them, this girl, they will be educated abroad. And government denied us. Now that government now deny us, deny this girl to go and stay abroad, let them provide them with all the learning facilities. But as I'm talking now, they don't have laptop according to what I had. They don't have all the necessary things. Even their stipend that were given to them then during early release, now I learned is no longer forthcoming. So I learned even some of them because of we are poor people living under threat for over 10 years. You can't go to farm. So none of the parents can have capacity of sponsoring his daughter in that school. So it is the responsibility of the government that deny us their international sponsorship to provide them with all the necessary facility, including their welfare. Let the government do that. 3, let government protect the parents and the brothers at home. Because every day, every week, month or so, you will hear attack in any of the community in Chibok with colossal loss of life. We are appealing to Borno State government along with the federal government to protect the people. But if they are so good that they should say, but let them protect the life of our people at home. Then, 4th, our road lack of road network that our people have been experiencing, which even led an easy adoption for the Boko Haram. Let federal government or Borno State government construct this road with immediate effect, so that at least when something happens, our people can easily get communication and possibly assistance in terms of security protection. So these are the 4 things that we are requesting government to intervene and do so.
Unveiling these harrowing experiences and accusations highlights the urgent need to seek answers and justice. As we navigate these truths, it is imperative to chart a path forward that ensures accountability, safety, and lasting peace for all. My name is Ifunanya Igwe, reporting for Lagos Talks 91.3 FM.